All right, welcome to the June Thurston County Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting. We'll start with roll call.
Nightingale,
Here.
Chad Sutter, Emily Klaus,
Here.
Bob Isle,
Here.
Kelly Green,
Here.
Nicholas Dunning. Oh, I see him in the lobby. So he is here. Joan Cathy,
Yep, here.
And Nicholas.
Trevor Palmer, Elaine Clam, Lisa Harrison,
I'm here.
Jane Appling,
Here. I'm here.
hi, Greg Schoenbachler,
Here.
Aaron Robertson,
Here.
Yeah, I saw him. Yep, there he is.
Christina Kolberg.
Here.
And that does it for our roll call.
Okay, a couple of vacancies. Yeah, all right, great. We have a good group here. So we didn't meet in May. But what are our guests here in the room or online? Jeff?
Sure, I will start. So it looks like in your room you have Laura Glover as far as staff. Also online we have Hope Springer. Also from our Solid Waste Division. I see Rob Pudner.
Good morning.
And April Rowe.
Hello.
And let's see, going through my list here. We have Tony Basinger.
Good morning.
And we have Matt Samuelson. I think that's Public Works. Okay, so also we have Kimberly Graham for Public Health. And Kylie Graber also from Public Health.
Good morning.
And let's see. Jessica Goulet also from Public Health. And let's see that we have Gary Franks, I see, from City of Olympia.
Yep.
As well as Ron Jones, also from the City of Olympia.
Thank you.
Oh, I see Jennifer Johnson, also from Public Health, who popped up there.
Good morning.
And let's see, who am I missing here? There's two that I don't know where they're from. There's, there's Andrea Mai.
Good morning. I am Commissioner Emily Klaus's executive aide.
Oh, that's okay. Very good. That's right. You are new, correct?
Yes, I am. It's my second week.
Well, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And additionally, Karen Weichert.
Good morning. I'm new to Thurston County and coming from Nashville, and I've been very involved in the EPR bill in Tennessee, and I know that there's one that's passed here. So I'm going to listen in and see what y'all do.
Very good. And I see that Elaine Clam has shown up, so let's mark her as present also. And then I know there's somebody I'm missing here.
Travis Dutton was signed on.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Travis Dutton was signed on.
Oh, Travis. Okay. Oh, there's Travis. Yeah. So he'd be presenting today, as well as Emily Rhodes from HDR also will be part presenting today as well. So I think, did I miss
Morning.
anybody? Very good. All right. Thank you.
Oh, that's a great group. And Karen Weichert, I'd be interested to chat with you maybe offline sometime. I'm actually going to Nashville Sunday for a training. So we may have some things to talk about. Anyway, great group meeting today. So the agenda. People have that probably electronically. Anything we need to change, amend, add, subtract from the agenda for today? Okay, not hearing anything, so can I have a motion to approve the agenda for today?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I second.
Thank you, Kelly. Who's the second?
Elaine?
Elaine, great. Thank you, Elaine. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And opposed? Abstentions? Great. We have an agenda. Now let's go to the meeting minutes from April. We didn't meet in May. So, any changes, additions, subtractions, corrections for the minutes from April? Okay, I guess they must be pretty good then. So may I have a motion for adopting these minutes?
I so move.
Thank you, Elaine. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
And opposed? And abstentions? Okay, great. And we've got those adopted. Okay, so Travis, I understand you're with us now and you want to give us an update for should we do public comments first? Yes, we can do that. Any public comments? Let's do that. Anybody that isn't part of the SWAC want to say anything before we get going? Okay, very good. So
Hey,
let's
Dave,
go on.
do you mind if I chip in really quickly? I did notice that Joan Cathy also is now
Okay,
at the meeting, so I'll make sure that we mark her as here.
great. Thank you, Jeff. All right, Travis, it's all about you and the legislature, I guess, a little bit.
Well, yeah, it's about the legislature. You just have to
Oh,
listen to
oh.
me say the words. So, well, thank you for having me. It's nice to see folks again. Are you seeing the full presentation?
Yeah,
All right, excellent. So, my name is Travis Dutton. I'm a policy coordinator with the Washington State Association of Counties. For those that are unfamiliar with WASAC, it is a nonprofit agency based out of Olympia that provides support to all 39 counties. Legislative, I kind of describe it as a legislative consultant, but really focusing on statewide issues related to the services that counties need to provide and the ability for counties to continue providing those services. That includes conferences, it includes these presentations, helping implement policy, but then also some lobbying during the legislative session. And I cover a weird variety of topics, but one of my primary roles is supporting our Washington State Association of County Solid Waste Managers group. So that includes Jeff and Amanda and the solid waste staff, public works directors, program staff, or program managers, depending on the county, but from all of 39 counties across the state, working on knowledge sharing and providing legislative advocacy. And it has been a very active couple of years in legislatively related to solid waste, and it did not disappoint. Well, it disappointed in some areas, but it kept it stayed strong as far as a topic in 2025, and will likely continue to be a topic into 2026. And like somebody mentioned, we did pass a pretty big law around extended producer responsibility that we'll very gently, lightly touch on today. But there were some really big things that are going to change how our system looks in Washington State. So, all right, so today I'm just going to cover a couple of things. I'm going to go over, just reintroduce, I likely shared this with you during session, but I'll quickly go back over the legislative priorities that the Solid Waste Manager Group set for us to work on in 2025 and 2026. I'm going to go over some of the key bills that passed and bills that did not pass through this session. and a little bit on what we're going to be doing as an agency around solid waste in preparation for 2026 and in response to legislation. So if folks remember, we worked through 2024 with all of our solid waste managers and all of our county elected members, so our council members and commissioners from each of the counties, to set the legislative priorities that our entire organization worked and focused on during the 2025 session. Solid waste was a part of that list of priorities, but if you think back to all of the services that your counties provide, it included behavioral health care, it included roads and transportation funding. So it's a pretty wide gamut and a pretty long list of priorities, but we worked pretty hard on solid waste as well. All of our priorities related to solid waste this year were funding focused. So taking a look at how solid waste programs who rely very heavily on tip fees to fund all of the work that we do, to create a more diverse set of funding resources, a more consistent, reliable set of funding resources as we continue to take waste from, not take waste from the landfill, but divert waste from the landfill to higher and better uses. So one of those was taking a look at the solid waste collection tax, which you all likely have seen on your service invoices. It is a sales and use tax on the service for collecting garbage. And right now that money had been going to an account to fund public works projects. So we wanted to potentially increase that and divert the funding directly to solid waste programs and create a new, more diverse, more reliable funding source. We were also taking a look at any bottle deposit programs that came up, as there's a couple of different models in other states to take a look at how funding can be generated through a bottled container deposit program without impacting the effectiveness of a bottle program. Ultimately, there was no bottle program passed this year, but it's still a viable piece of legislation and is part of the EPR bill as far as studying and what bottle deposit program could look like. So we'll keep working on that. Advocating for increased funding around litter, both appropriating more from the litter fund out to local governments to clean up illegal dumping, roadside litter, abandoned vehicles, etc. But also modernizing how the litter tax, which funds these programs, is modeled. It was established, I can't remember the year. All I remember is it was before Star Wars, the first Star Wars movie came out, and it hasn't been updated since then. So you think about what was on the side of the road before Star Wars and what's on the side of the road now, different products, different materials, and it's not working to fund our ability to clean everything up. So, and lastly, while it wasn't a priority, it's just sort of a county tradition that our other focus is protecting the funding that we already have. We saw some, our local solid waste financial assistance, so the grants that come from the state remained the same. So we were very happy that that was not swept. But however, and those of you that work in other public works areas, there is a funding resource, the Public Works Assistance Account, that provides low interest loans to counties and cities to complete public works projects, including solid waste projects, was swept again. It just came back last year, and then it was swept again this year. So that was a resource we've been really trying hard to engage in and help support counties getting those low interest loans for solid waste projects. But it looks like that's not going to be a focus again in the future. And a lot of people are impacted by that across our public works program. So those are the priorities that we went into the legislative session with. These are the solid waste related bills that passed. I'm going to touch on some of them very quickly, but I also shared this, I believe this PowerPoint went out to all of you. So you'll have this list if you want to take a deeper dive into any of these bills specifically. As you heard earlier, I can't remember, but from Tennessee, but we did pass, and I Oh, I was scolded for this last week. It's not the Recycling Reform Act. It is the Recycling Renewal Act. So I need to update this slideshow. But it is an extended producer responsibility program for product packaging and printed paper products. It's a very long list of materials that are covered. It's a very long list of materials that are exempt, but essentially it takes the responsibility and the funding needs away from local governments and puts it on the producers. The producers will be required to set up an organization and work with all county governments to ensure that the products that they manufacture are being captured and recycled. And it's intended to be built on top of or in harmony with the existing system. So one of the questions that's come up a lot is what are residents going to see differently? And hopefully, other than the potential for new items to be added to the list of things that can go in curbside containers, and maybe eventually some savings on those with existing recycling program or with the existing curbside programs may see some cost savings because the funding is shifting to the producers. But hopefully the systems that exist will largely stay the same as far as folks to engage with, and likely hopefully get a little bit better. Where counties will see a lot of options is their level of engagement, whether they want to continue engaging in recycling activities or focus on other elements of solid waste services. But again, this is a really big bill as far as the impact. This program would start in 2030. I see Ron Jones on the call. I don't know if he wants to pipe in and make sure I got that right or wrong. But there's a lot of work to be done in the next 5 years. A needs assessment, the development of plans, engaging with counties, making sure that there's a lot of research that happens before the program hits the ground running. So I would expect that you will be hearing a lot about this over the next 5 years as we learn more and as we understand the impacts better. But I've been feeling optimistic that this is going to be a benefit to most, if not all, county solid waste programs and the quality of service that their ratepayers get. Let's see, I don't want to cover all of these. I do want to highlight that there was a right to repair bill, which is really great news. That's one that had been making its way through the legislature the last couple of years, and it requires device manufacturers, so phones, tablets, to provide equipment and plans for people to repair broken phones rather than discard them or get rid of them. There were some updates to the organics management requirement. As far as counties go, it was primarily around making sure that all the carts and containers meet statewide color requirements. So folks can expect, well, actually, I don't know what colors exist in Olympia or Thurston County, but at some point, all of the containers across the state for recycling, garbage, and composting will need to meet certain color requirements so that it's consistent across the state. There were some other bills around enforcement at landfills and solid waste facilities, and quite a bit of efforts to make penalties for littering more severe, which is great, but also doesn't really get us closer to being able to fund litter cleanup ourselves, primarily because you have to see the person illegally dump. And when a lot of it's happening in the forests or remote parts of a county, it's difficult to figure out who exactly did it and to enforce that. So quite a few bills around litter. One of them did pass, but it's not really going to impact counties very much. And then I touched on some of the budget updates around our LSWIFA funding, our grants from the state remaining the same, and then the Public Works Assistance account being swept. Some of the legislation that did not pass, and I say that it failed, but it failed in 2025. If something is introduced in 2025, since we run on a biennium, a 2-year cycle in Washington, these bills are technically still alive for 2026. So just because they didn't pass this time, we are likely to see these again, or some version of them again. Like I mentioned, there was a couple of bottle deposit bills that did not pass, but are part of the study for the extended producer responsibility. So we may see them come back or the topic come up in one way or the other. There were quite a few bills that were aimed at stopping extended producer responsibility and just focusing on a study. And none of those bills successfully passed, especially since EPR did. Those bills went away. House Bill 2018 was actually a really big deal for us in the solid waste world. As I mentioned on that first page, we were looking at the solid waste collection tax as a way to bring more financial support to solid waste programs and rely less on increasing tip fees to fund our existing programs, plus all of the new requirements. That bill was introduced by Representative Dolio. It was introduced pretty late in the session. I think after I had testified about a dozen times using the exact same script about funding needs. I think Representative Dolio wanted me to shut up, and so she introduced this bill. And we'll be spending some time working on it over the next year to make sure that it's stakeholdered and that when it comes back in 2026, it's in a place where we have greater optimism and confidence that it'll make it through the process. But this would be a huge win. And to have a legislative priority gain traction the first year you implement it is a pretty big deal. So this group worked really hard on putting together something that could get some support. And I worked really hard at being annoying, which I've really discovered that's like the most important part of my job. So there were some bills introduced around clothing and textiles. So extended producer responsibility for fast fashion, especially. I had a really great presentation from an organization in Ghana, which is where most of the clothing from the UK and the United States go after they've been donated or discarded. And the secondhand clothing market is a pretty big global impact on Ghana and some of the other countries in Africa. So taking a look at making that system better. They were introduced this year, knowing that they wouldn't make it through the legislature. But as folks that have been watching over the last couple of years, EPR took 5 years, I think at least, before it passed. And you know, these things take quite a few cycles. So they were introduced and we're hopeful that we'll see them come back. I'm gonna just really quickly, oh, there we go. What's next? So we will be meeting here in like a week and a half. Is that right, Jeff? Like you have to see me in a week and a half. We'll be meeting in Ellensburg, spending 2.5 days really diving deep into deeper than the icon that you see there. That's pretty shallow, that scuba diver. We'll be going deeper than that, but really making sure that all of our solid waste program folks have a very clear understanding of what the legislation, all those bills that passed mean to them and how to be best set up to make the most of those programs. We'll be focusing heavily on EPR or on the new EPR bills, as well as organics. You know, if you see Jeff and Amanda, maybe on like the 19th of June, their brains will be full and they might be a little stressed out. So treat them, you know, kindly. They're going to be they're going to be working really hard. So we have this meeting in June. We'll meet again in November to finalize our activities for 2026. And we will be working with a lot of stakeholders just to make sure that we're working with ecology, that we're working with our private haulers, that we're working with our public works partners, and really just making sure that what we want to accomplish in 2026 is what others are willing to support us in or what they want to accomplish as well. Okay, so that was a very quick overview. That wraps up my presentation. I will hand it back over to you if there are questions and answers that folks have.
Okay, anybody have questions for Travis? Or comments?
Looks like there's a question in the chat from Jessica Goulet, and it is information from the meeting webinar with Ghana about fast fashion publicly available?
I don't know. Oh, I guess I've messaged. Oh, I tried to respond. Let me put this, I messaged directly. I'm working on putting together a meeting with our members and the Northwest Product Stewardship, but it's called the OR Foundation. So I was just going to put in the chat the website, and they have some videos there as well. But I don't have anything that I can share. I wasn't given anything, but it should be available on their website. But I'll be working on putting together a presentation for folks soon.
Anything else from SWAC members? I've got a question. I know that there's some other states that have passed EPR for all household hazardous waste that aren't already covered. Was that something that was introduced this session?
It was not introduced this session. We will be hearing, King County has been leading a process to discuss how to implement an EPR for HHW program, and what it will focus on and what it will look like. So I know that that is something that is coming. I don't know if the plan is to introduce something in 2026 or wait for the next long session. But that is a conversation that's in place right now.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? Great. All right. Thank you very much, Travis. Always appreciate your presentations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Okay,
Travis.
Okay, hazardous waste management plan update. Kimberly Graham, are you here, or is it is somebody from HDR going to be talking?
I'm here, but yeah, Emily is here as well.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I am here, happy to provide this update. So thank you so much for having me here today. Like I said, I'm just providing a quick update on the hazardous waste management plan. We are very close to finalizing the plan, and we wanted to make sure this group was aware of the changes that have been made to the plan since the last time we presented. So if you will recall, I think we came back October, November, and December to talk through the details of the plan. And then following the SWAC presentations last fall, we made some edits to the plan that were based on the feedback we received. So both from this group as well as from the solid waste department. After we made the edits from the feedback we received from these presentations, we then submitted an updated plan to Ecology for an informal review. This was not actually a requirement for the hazardous waste management plan, but we thought it was really important to get their eyes on it before this plan went through the adoption process. We just wanted to make sure our T's were crossed and our I's were dotted. So we did submit this to Ecology for an informal review in December. We received their comments back in April. And while we were, excuse me, while we were waiting for Ecology's comments, we went through the county SEPA review process, and we had a couple of minor comments on that. We did receive a determination of non-significance, which will be included in the plan. So now we have incorporated the edits received from the public comment period last fall, as well as that informal regulatory review period. And we have put together what is very close to the final plan, save for a couple of minor updates. So the specific changes that were put in place were documented in the plan and the appendices. They were also sent around to this group for review prior to this meeting. So hopefully you had a chance to review, and then that format was easy to digest. We just wanted to clearly present the changes that were made so you didn't have to re-review the entire document, as well as an explanation for why we made that change, or in some circumstances why we did not make the change. So at this point, the next step is for the county to submit the plan. Once we have the final plan, the next step will be for the county to submit the plan to the participating jurisdictions for adoption. And once we've received a signed resolution from each of those jurisdictions, we will add those to an appendix, and then we will submit that final plan to Ecology for their final approval. And so once we've submitted it to Ecology and they've given their final approval, well, they'll have 90 days to make that final approval. And then voila, we have a final plan. So I just wanted to thank everyone in this group for your participation in the process, and also just see if anyone had any questions about those changes that were outlined in the documents. I don't think we need to go through each comment by comment, since these were distributed to the group for review. But if there were any specific questions or comments, please do let me know.
Okay, I see Kelly's hand is up.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. And I apologize if I just missed this in your presentation, but do you have a approximate timeline that the county could approve it and it would start coming to the jurisdictions?
Yes, we do. So when it will come to the jurisdictions for adoption, I would say hopefully this month is what we're aiming for. So we would like to have, there's, like I said, there's just a couple of minor edits that we need to make. We were waiting for a little bit more information. Once we have updated those, I mean, the plan's in good shape as we speak. So a couple of minor edits and then we'll get those out to the cities.
Thank you.
So like I said, aiming for this month.
Anyone else have questions or comments?
I have a question, actually.
Go for it.
Do you foresee or anticipate any potential difficulties after the plan is submitted to Ecology? Like, would there be a possibility of them sending it back to us within that 90-day period?
So that was why we submitted it to Ecology in December for an informal review. And essentially what that was giving them an opportunity to review the draft and provide their comments at that time. And they did come back with several comments, which are also included in the plan. They'll be documented in an appendix. They were also circulated to this group. And so we were able to get their comments upfront before the adoption process to make sure that we were meeting all of their requirements. So that was a really important step. And like I said, that wasn't required, but we would much rather make those edits before the adoption process than after. So because we went through that exercise, I do feel very confident that by the time this makes it to the cities for adoption and then makes it to Ecology for their final review, there shouldn't be any issues.
That's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
course.
And good job being proactive. I'm always impressed with our public works team. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question or comment? I have a question. So I have not reviewed the latest document because a couple of days ago got back from Italy after a month, and I didn't do it while I was in Italy, sorry, but
Sounds like a great trip.
can I have a few more days? Maybe if I have anything, I can give it to Jeff and you and you know, by the like the end of next week or something like that. Is that possible?
Yes, I would say by the end of next week should work to keep us on track.
Great, thank you. All right, so I guess, you know, for other people that are in my situation that hadn't maybe looked at it yet, you have a little more time to give some comments to staff, so great. Anything else from Kimberly, Wendy? I don't know if Wendy's on or not.
She was not able to make it today.
Okay, we'll say hi to Wendy for me.
I will.
Yeah, anybody else, anything? Okay, great, well, let's go on then. Thanks again, Emily. So Matt, you with us? I don't see him in the room
He's
here.
online.
Is he online?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's there.
all right, that's up to you, Matt.
Yeah, I'm trying to turn my video on here. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent. I'm down at the atrium, and for some reason my speakers aren't working on my laptop, so I've got my phone and my laptop. We have the presentation.
Yes.
I can't see the screen.
No worries. I'm pulling it up right now.
She's bringing it up right now.
Oh, there it is.
It should be this one. Can you see it?
I can see it. Thank you.
Great.
Can you get it to the next slide, please? Okay, again, hopefully everybody's getting used to seeing this format. Just an overall summary of the timeline for the different projects that we have going. See, currently we have the compactor going, as well as some security and fire alarm system upgrades. So why don't we jump to the next slide there? And there's a compactor replacement. I know Jeff and Gerald are quite excited to have this finally happen. We're still on schedule for delivery in October. We're still awaiting the official layout drawings with all of the schematics and the load information, et cetera. So as soon as we get that, we'll be reviewing that with the HDR. Emily, yeah, there she is. And go from there. But so far we're on schedule still. And we mentioned security technology site improvements. I got the security system replaced out at the work. Everybody seems to be really happy with that. It has remote functioning so that folks, when they're at home, can get online and say, hey, I think I forgot to arm something, and they can actually physically do it there remotely. So far, so good. We're still awaiting the fire alarm system. I have a tentative schedule now from the vendor of install at the end of June. We've absolutely been anxiously awaiting a schedule for that. And I know the folks in the transfer station are more excited than anybody because that alarm beeps all the time. So it's on schedule here. Next slide. Thank you. We threw this in here just to let you know, unfortunately, the project was canceled. We had some engineering estimates come in after the fact that just proved that, due to the lack of electrical infrastructure at the different sites and the overall cost of the project was really going to be about twice what the funding was that we had. So the project's been canceled, unfortunately. I will say that we do anticipate with the reconfiguration, we would like to bake that into the design, particularly for the office building, that we do have some chargers there. And if there's still some grant funding available at the time, then we'll certainly seek that, and hopefully we'll be successful in it.
What was the cost? Was it like a new transformer, or what? Why would it cost so?
I would say electrical infrastructure was probably the largest determining factor in terms of the cost, being substantially more than the original estimates, particularly for the Pattison lot, which is down by the atrium. So it just didn't pencil out. Renovations, upgrades really quick. This is just really some cosmetic upgrades to the toll houses, the kiosks, the transfer station offices, and break room. They're pretty outdated, haven't been painted in a long time. Could use some new flooring, so we're looking into that currently. We have to wait until the fire alarm system is installed, because we've asked them to remove all of the obsolete equipment so that we can patch the walls and then do that painting and whatnot. So it is on the schedule, and hopefully we'll be getting to that sometime in the third quarter here. Next slide. Jeff, do you want to talk about this? I'll let Jeff speak to it, since he just did a presentation for the commissioner workshop.
Yeah, so this the proposed South County transfer station. Basically, once again, this would be a new potentially a new location, or or the remodeling or the expansion of an existing one. Now we're down to a one chosen alternative at this point in time. However, basically, as far as the timing on this one is going to be after we complete the work reconfiguration project, which I know that Matt's going to talk about, I think, in the next slide, for a couple of reasons. One of the biggest ones has to do with our capital funds. So there are two variations: the work reconfiguration, South County Transfer Station. They're both very large projects, and we need to sequence them again, because primarily it's cash flow. Additionally, just having the internal resources to do two large projects like this. I mean, we don't have the staffing resources to do both simultaneously. So, another reason why we're sequencing this one after the work reconfiguration, which was chosen as the top priority. Additionally, once we finish the reconfiguration, we'll be able to step back and take a look at that time, what are the current needs, from waste volumes, customer accounts at that time, so that when we do design and build this second location, that we're right sizing it to what we really need. So basically it's on hiatus, on hold, and until we'll probably start picking up and doing some of the environmental work and other background work during the work reconfiguration project, but it'll probably be a couple of years before we really start ramping that back up again.
Perfect. And if everybody's all right with it, I'm probably going to drop that slide from these presentations on a quarterly basis, and then throw it in there on an as-needed basis moving forward. And okay, reconfiguration, the one everybody's curious about, right? So we did end up sent the RFQ out beginning of May. It closed last Friday, I think. And unfortunately, we didn't get any responses to the RFQ. That RFQ was for the consulting services or owner advisor construction management services to guide us through the entire process. The application to the project review committee within DES, as well as putting together the RFQ and the RFP process for actually procuring the DB firm to design and build the reconfiguration, and then of course the contract management services during the construction process. We didn't receive any responses to the RFQ, as I said. We have got some feedback. Right, this is the first time we've gone through it. We used some templates from, I think, King County and a couple other counties. It's looking like perhaps our minimum qualifications might have been a little too restrictive on this, and that's kind of the feedback we've been getting. So we have solicited more feedback from a number of firms that we had on a list, and we'll kind of bring those together, try to find some commonality amongst the limiting factors, and make some appropriate adjustments to the RFQ. And we're really hoping to have that back out, those adjustments made, and have it back out on the street within a couple of weeks, so that we can try and stay on project schedule. We're looking for application to the project review committee at their December meeting. So we think we can still make that happen even with this delay. And we do anticipate getting some responses, because we know, with the adjusted RFQs, we know that there are a number of firms that really wanted to respond to it, but just couldn't qualifications we had in there. So it's a learning work in progress. I'll pause there, see if there's any questions. Excellent. Next slide, I think, is just a summary of the reconfiguration timeline, as you can see. Again, I think we're still on schedule here.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Any other final questions, or is that it?
That was it for me.
Okay. Anything else from anybody for Matt? All righty. Manager's report, Jeff Bickford Esquire, you're up.
Esquire. Oh, nobody's ever called me Esquire before. And I don't have a legal degree, so I don't think I qualify. But okay, yeah, you guys are being easy today. So actually, before I kind of talk about some of the highlights of things that have been going on recently, I did want to ask a question of the group, just to confirm. Our next meeting, so the July meeting, is scheduled for Thursday, July 3rd. It is the day before a 3-day holiday weekend. So I just wanted to make sure that we're going to be able to have a quorum. I think we have a good majority of our folks here today. Are there anybody here that thinks that they won't be able to make that meeting because they're either, taking a longer weekend or whatever. So I just want to make sure before, so we don't, meet and then, basically not be able to do business. But so I guess, is everybody here probably figuring at this point in time they're going to be available, or let me know if you're not, I guess.
Yeah, if I expect to
Really?
not be available.
Okay. Yeah, except we kind of know that with the proximity of a holiday like that, that might be an issue. So how about others? Is there anybody else that figures that they won't be able to make it?
I thought one of the things we talked about was perhaps because of the proximity to the 4th, that we might do a facility tour
Or-
that day.
We can look at that actually. So, and we'll look at that over the next week and let people know. Because I know that usually involves a little bit more timing as far as,
Yeah.
being a little bit longer. But yeah,
Unless there's critical things that we have to, do right away, time critical
yeah,
stuff.
we don't have any really meaty subjects planned for July either. So
I have a comment.
Okay.
I
Sure.
think facility tour in July is a great idea, but not on the day before the 4th.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's
Well,
one of our
well, maybe,
busiest times of year.
So if we were to do that, we'd maybe kick it into the next week. Would that make more sense? Obviously, I think the whole. I know.
Yeah, that'd be better.
Okay, we'll investigate, see what's potentially available. I know we had some ideas previously of some possible tours, so we'll put our heads together and see what makes sense, and then we can have to reach out, of course, and see if the facilities are willing to take us. Obviously, so we will. I guess, am I hearing correctly then that the preference would be to schedule potentially versus having a regular business meeting to try to attempt to schedule a tour for
Lacey's
looking
good
into
with
the
that.
next week? Okay. Anybody else have a problem with that?
Are you asking about the date?
Well, that would be the next question is if it are in the next week, is there a preferred day of the week? Or Thursday, since we're on Thursday now, would a Thursday be a good day to do it? Or
Thursday's okay for me.
Yeah, I could do it in the afternoon. I couldn't do it in the morning.
Wednesday or
about-
Thursday would be fine.
Okay. All right, well, all right, Laura, so let's kind of target which would be what, the 10th then, I think?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. All right, okay. All right, that sounds good. Well, we'll let you know what we come up with and see what we can find.
What facility are you
Who's
thinking
willing?
about?
Oh, I know we had, and Laura, you might recall, I know we had a list of several that we were investigating. I know one of them was the transfer station. Was that the Bow Lake one or? I have to go back and take a look. Another one was an HHW facility.
It gets up.
That's not
That
built
wasn't
yet.
available
That's still under
till-
construction.
Okay, that one's not ready. Okay. Yeah, we'll go back and take a look because there were several types of facilities that were suggested. So see what we can schedule in.
Great.
Okay, after that, all right. So a couple of highlights. My first highlight, I'm gonna go ahead and tap Rob Pudner to talk about the compost giveaway event we had in early May.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Rob, I didn't mean to surprise you.
Yeah, no, I don't have my stats with me right now because I wasn't expecting that. But we had a very successful second annual compost giveaway event. It's at May 3rd. So Saturday. It was scheduled to be a 3-hour event. Kind of to pair it with the in-person master recycler composting workshops that were just basically across the street at Closed Loop Park at the Waste and Recovery Center. Last year we had 60 some people who came to pick up compost. We scooped the last bit of compost at the last minute of the event. And this year was a little bit different. People found out about the event and they came in large numbers. So we learned that people in this county really appreciate compost, especially when it's free. So we ran out of compost in 1 hour. We had people who were waiting for hours in line to get the compost before we even arrived ourselves. So there's a lot of interest. I think we've got a lot of planning to figure out how to continue celebrating International Compost Awareness Week next year and into the future. But the bottom line is it went well, and people really see the value in it. So that's good.
Yeah, and I think we had 64 residents. I think that's the number I had as far as the ones that were successful in getting compost.
64 people were able to get compost, and then unfortunately, because there was so much interest in it, we did have to turn away many other folks.
So we will be looking at, for next year's event, wanting to see maybe can we get a little bit more material so we can go a little further and service more people. So, but we will continue to make this an annual event. So it's obviously very popular. The next one I think is I see Hope's on here. Sorry, gang, I'm not putting you on the spot. We currently we assisted in promoting a statewide Bring Your Own Cup campaign, which it was kind of instigated by Ecology. So Hope, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure, yeah. I can maybe share a link to the video as well in the chat after this. But for the month of May, the Department of Ecology was promoting Bring Your Own Cup campaign around the state of Washington. And so us, Thurston County, along with a few other counties and cities across the state, put together a video encouraging Washingtonians to bring their own cups to coffee shops so that we can reduce single-use plastic. And part of that is the Department of Ecology also has a website, bringyourcupwa.org, where you can go on and see a map of all the coffee shops in the state that accept personal cups. And coffee shops can also log on to that and request to be added to the map if they're not currently on it, and they do accept those personal cups. So it's a really great tool to be able to spread the word about, reducing waste even in small ways, because it makes a big difference when a lot of us do it. And plastic cups like that and hot coffee cups and plastic coffee cups are both not recyclable in Thurston County. So it's a good way to keep those out of the waste stream.
Yeah, she'll put the link for it. I heartily recommend going and watching the video. It's really cool. And Hope is one of the many stars, and she's actually she's the anchor leg, so she's the last one up. I love the shot in the front of the Capitol building. It's anyway, but there's cities are city representatives, county representatives. It's just a really cool video, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll find the link now and share that.
So I heartily recommend checking it out. It's maybe about a minute or so, like kind of a PSA link, but it was really cool. The other thing is to talk about is I know the Board of County Commissioners a few weeks ago approved an interlocal agreement with Intercity Transit. I know we've talked about the potential for the bike reuse and drop off out at the Waste and Recovery Center. So the interlocal agreement was approved by the board. It's now at Intercity Transit for them to sign their part of it. And we're kind of working on getting the infrastructure and signage, et cetera, ready with the hope to start accepting those gently used adult-sized bikes. The key is no rusty heaps or ones that are not functional, because they need working bikes out at the work starting on July 1st. That's our goal, is to begin accepting those out there next month. So it's exciting. I know Rob's been putting a lot of effort in over the last year and a half to two, working on this. So we're getting closer, and we're excited about it. So key is not to trying to be putting education out there to not get children's bikes, because Intercity Transit just can't handle those. It's not when they're set up, and they have some other types of restrictions. They don't like full suspension mountain bikes and some other things like that. But yeah, we're excited about that, and hopefully we can keep those from out of the waste stream. A lot of the bikes right now, when they come to us, they just end up in the scrap metal, and they're recycled that way. But as is, typical reuse is always better, and these end up going back to either low income folks and back out in the community. So again, they're put to good use. I think that's what I have. Anybody have any other questions for me? We may actually, you might get a half hour of your life back today.
There is one question from Jessica to Rob in the chat about the compost giveaway, just asking if there's enough compost available to do an event like that more than once a year.
Perhaps. So we had 20 cubic yards of compost that was donated by Brady Trucking. Because of the demand that we saw this year, we are going to be completely, it could look very different. It will look very different next year, whether that means we have multiple events to spread out the folks so that we don't have the traffic that we had, or we have a larger volume of compost at a bigger event at a bigger site. It could look like different things. We haven't figured that out yet. But I think once we get through some other projects this summer, we can start planning that for next year.
If I could piggyback on there, I really like the one event. The timing is so good when people are thinking about gardening, but it seems crazy to have so many people sent away where they wasted their time. So I would advocate for doing something that allows more people to get at the compost.
Maybe have registration, so you have to register to get it.
Maybe, or more lane. I haven't been to the event, so I don't know, but more lanes, more so that more people can be served at a time. Isn't it the case that when people go there, some people are filling their pickup trucks?
I wouldn't say that they're filling their pickup trucks. There is a limit of 1/2 cubic yard per vehicle. So they are limited to that. That's the equivalent of 25-gallon buckets.
But that does take a while to fill, right?
It does, yes.
So how many people can get at the compost at a time? Is it one at a time?
It's not one at a time, no.
Oh, good.
So
Okay.
we had, I haven't counted, but I can look back at the photos. We probably, this is just a ballpark, so I could be off on this, but 10 up to 10 people is a guess off the top of my head at a time. We had a couple carts so that because vehicles were lined up in certain configurations, they could, they weren't parked right next to the pile of compost, so they had to travel with their bucket or whatever container they had to their vehicle. We did allow pickup trucks to back up to the park, to the compost pile as close as they could get in order to facilitate them loading as quickly as possible. If you haven't been, I can share some photos with you. We definitely tried to keep the folks flowing through as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. So that was our main concern, is that we wanted no accidents, no injuries, and we were successful with that. So that will always be my main priority. Granting more people access logistically is challenging, and I think it also increases safety concerns. We've heard people ask for, well, multiple piles. And in theory, that's great, but that would also, again, increase safety risk, increase the need for staff and volunteers. We were supported by the Master Recycler Composter volunteers. But again, we were kind of maxed out with people. So we will be considering lots of different options for next time.
It sounds like you've really put a lot of thought into it. Thank
We
you.
have.
I recommended it to a lot of people, and
That's
I
why.
hate the thought of people being turned away. Oh no, it wasn't. But that is hard if people get discouraged and get turned away.
It is. We did talk to folks. I think the cost of a full cubic yard of compost from Brady Trucking is like $33. So a half a cubic yard, which is the maximum that we allowed per customer, is $16 and some change. Folks who aren't put out by that amount, we offered that as information that they could take to go pick up from Brady or anywhere else, if didn't want to wait in line. And so that's always an option for folks.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Well, I got Dave.
Anything else, Jeff?
Not that, that's all I got.
Okay, great. So roundtable, anybody on the SWAC have anything they want to share or ask or criticize or commend or whatever might be on your mind? It is appropriate for the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. No
Hi, this
hands?
is Jennifer, I have a question.
Go for it.
This is maybe just something to look at for the future. Dave, I'm on a different listserv with you, the NAMA listserv. And you had sent something recently into that listserv about if folks are not seeing at least 13% of their population come through the hazardous waste facility in a year, then they're not reaching their audience. And I just wanted to ask a little bit about that, both kind of like where that information came from and how we can look at that as a marker, as a goal going forward.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. That's I do know about that. Sort of a preface to, I'll just take probably 5 or 10 minutes to talk about it. But ahead of that, one of my concerns for Thurston County is whether we're getting adequate service places near the Hazel House in the north part of county versus South County. And, I'm encouraging staff to continue to figure out, what level of service is the northern people getting versus the southern people getting in Thurston County. And I'm guessing that the southern people aren't getting as much service as we are. But then back to your question, about 13%, where did that come from? So many years ago, I worked for Department of Ecology in the solid waste program. And one of the things I did while I was there was I was part of a national paint product stewardship initiative. This is like back in the year 2002 or something like that. One of the questions essentially it was 50 people around a table trying to do a national extended producer responsibility for architectural paint. And we're talking with the paint industry, Pittsburgh Paint and Glass, Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, all the big players were there, Canadians as well as the US. And one of the things that came out of that was we had a memorandum of understanding that was signed by Department of Ecology and other people. And one of the questions that nobody knew the answer to was, so how old is the average paint coming back into an HHW facility? Because there was a certain point in time when the federal government did not allow mercury to be put into that paint anymore, which of course is a neurotoxin, bad stuff. And so they wanted to know, what is the average age of the paint coming in to the point where is this going to end up being designated as a hazardous waste because of mercury content or not? So at Ecology, I was able to work with HHW programs around the Northwest, and we found out that the Clean Air Act federal law required that every container of paint go out with a code on it. And if you have the decoder ring, it will tell you what date that paint was manufactured. So I called around to the Northwest manufacturers of the paint. I recruited various HHW programs around the Northwest to get those codes and send them in. And we decoded them and figured out that the average age of the paint coming in was 7.4 years old. So that was something nobody had ever tried to figure out or able to figure out how old HHW was. So paint is typically 40 to 60% of the total HHW volume that comes through. And so for that 40 or 60%, we can say about 7.4 years is the age of that coming in. Now, I haven't heard anybody try to figure out, how about, a bottle of pesticide or bleach or whatever other kind of household hazardous waste you have. So if you think about, well, pain is kind of a loss leader, and that's the big volume. People say, God, I have all this stuff, maybe I'll bring all the other stuff in too. If you can make the assumption that, well, the other stuff coming in is probably that old approximately as well. If you can buy that assumption, then you can say household hazardous waste on average is 7.4 years when it comes in. And then if you look at, that's the periodicity of generation, then you can back calculate if you want to get 100% of all the people coming in, it takes about 13% of the people per year coming in over 7.4 years to get to 100%. Anybody confused at this point? That's where it comes from, Jennifer. Did you follow that? I'm hearing really.
I did follow that somewhat. Yeah, that was, I mean, it's really cool. I really appreciate that. This is going to be annoying, but I wonder if we could, get that written down in a way that, that would be easier for not just me to track, but kind of our management to track.
I wrote an article talking about this effectiveness metric, and I can send it to the group here or to.
That would be great.
Yeah. I wrote for 2.5 years. I wrote a monthly article during COVID, and that was one of the articles I wrote. So I will send that to Laura and Jeff, and they can send it to you and others.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. I think it took 8 minutes. Sorry, I went over time, but I guess the only other thing is anything else, any other roundtable items for anybody inspired from the SWAC at this point? Okay, great. So Karen Weichert, I would like to give you my phone number to call me. We can talk about Tennessee and EPR, but why don't we do that after the recording is stopped? So it doesn't end up on recording my personal phone number. So I guess unless there's any objections, we will adjourn. Okay.
It sounds like a.
I
got it.
Everybody.
Okay. Karen, did you say you are? Go ahead and stop the recording.
Yep.